The crowd roared like a tidal wave crashing against the walls of the packed arena, their cheers reverberating through the air, carrying an electricity that made the floor tremble. Every seat was filled, every pair of eyes locked onto the center of the octagon, where two figures stood facing each other, their names alone enough to ignite a firestorm of anticipation. One, a warrior forged in blood and sweat, his name synonymous with combat itself, Conor McGregor, the brash, battle-tested former UFC champion. The other, a billionaire with an empire stretching across Earth and beyond, the mind behind Tesla and SpaceX, a man who had defied odds in the world of business and technology, Elon Musk. But tonight, it wasn't about stocks or spaceships. It wasn't about balance sheets or Mars colonies. It was about fists, grit, and the will to conquer. The build-up to this moment had been unlike anything the world had ever seen. It started with a single tweet, a challenge thrown into the digital abyss that no one thought would lead to anything serious. Elon Musk, known for his eccentricity, had jokingly suggested he'd take on McGregor in a charity fight, an absurd idea that, in any other reality, would have been laughed off. But this wasn't just any reality. McGregor, never one to back down from a challenge, responded with a signature blend of bravado and venom, turning what began as a joke into an unstoppable wave of hype. The internet exploded. Memes flooded every corner of social media. Sports analysts debated the absurdity of it all, while fight promoters scrambled to make it happen. And then, the unthinkable happened. Contracts were signed, dates were set, and the fight was officially on. No one could quite believe it, yet here they were, standing at the edge of something surreal. The world had seen billionaires play around in exhibition matches before, but this was different. Musk, despite his unorthodox training regimen and lack of experience, had prepared like a man possessed. Videos of him training with UFC legends surfaced online. Whispers of a secret coaching team spread like wildfire. And then there was McGregor, sharp as ever, treating this spectacle not as a mere exhibition but as a fight to prove a point. He was here to show that no amount of wealth or innovation could substitute for true combat experience. He was here to remind the world why he was the notorious. Now, under the blinding lights of the sold-out arena, the moment of truth had arrived. The announcer's voice boomed, introducing the fighters with the kind of dramatic flair only a fight of this magnitude deserved. McGregor bounced on his feet, loose, his eyes locked onto Musk with a look that had sent countless opponents crumbling before the first punch had even been thrown. Musk, standing across from him, was unreadable. No nervous fidgeting, no exaggerated bravado, just an unsettling calmness, the kind that made people wonder if he knew something they didn't. The referee stepped between them, running through the final instructions neither man truly needed. The seconds stretched, the energy in the air thick enough to cut with a knife. And then, the command came. Fight! McGregor exploded forward, fast, sharp, a blur of motion, years of experience, precision, and raw aggression coming together in a single movement. But what happened next was something no one saw coming. The moment McGregor lunged forward, the crowd erupted, their voices merging into a single deafening roar. He moved with the speed of a man who had done this 1,000 times, slipping into his rhythm with the ease of a predator closing in on its prey. His left hand twitched, feinting just enough to test Musk's reaction, but the billionaire didn't flinch. Instead, he shifted his stance, an awkward, unrefined movement that should have been an easy opening. Yet, for some reason, McGregor hesitated for a fraction of a second, something in Musk's posture throwing him off in a way he hadn't anticipated. That hesitation, however brief, was enough to turn the fight into something far more unpredictable than anyone had expected. Just days before the fight, speculation had run wild. Experts dissected Musk's training footage, breaking down his footwork, his punches, his endurance or the lack thereof. Most dismissed him as a man who had no business being in the cage with a fighter of McGregor's caliber. But there were others, those who had watched him more closely, who noticed something strange. Musk wasn't training to win in a conventional sense. He wasn't learning to outbox or out-wrestle McGregor. He was training for something else, something no one could quite put their finger on. His focus wasn't on perfecting technique, but on conditioning himself to absorb damage, to survive. The fight wasn't just about skill for him. It was about something deeper, something personal. In the weeks leading up to the fight, rumors began to swirl about why Musk had accepted the challenge in the first place. Some said it was nothing more than an extravagant publicity stunt, a spectacle meant to feed his growing empire. Others believed it was part of some elaborate experiment, a test of the human body under extreme stress. But those who knew him best, those who had worked with him in the shadows of Tesla's labs and SpaceX's secretive R&D divisions, whispered that there was another reason entirely. They spoke of late-night meetings, private research projects, and classified training sessions that had nothing to do with boxing or martial arts. Theories ranged from absurd to chilling. Some speculated that Musk had been using experimental technology to enhance his reflexes, while others insisted he had been undergoing a form of neural training that allowed him to process movement faster than the average human. A few even claimed that the fight itself was a smokescreen, a way to test something bigger, something that had nothing to do with McGregor at all. And then, there was the footage. A leaked video had surfaced online just days before the fight, only to be wiped from every major platform within hours. Those who saw it described something unsettling: Musk, standing in an empty training facility, facing down an opponent shrouded in darkness. The video, grainy and incomplete, showed only flashes of movement. A figure launching an attack, Musk reacting just in time, his body moving in ways that didn't seem entirely natural. Some claimed it was doctored, others dismissed it as AI-generated nonsense. But there was one frame, a single still image that someone had managed to screenshot before the video disappeared. In it, Musk's eyes weren't quite right. The pupils, dilated beyond what should have been possible, reflected something unnatural, something cold. Now, back in the arena, McGregor felt it too. He was a man who had fought some of the toughest fighters in the world, who had stared down legends without a shred of fear. And yet, as he circled Musk, reading his movements, something in his gut twisted. The billionaire wasn't moving like a trained fighter, but he wasn't reacting like an amateur either. It was almost as if he was processing the fight differently, as if he wasn't fighting instinctively, but calculating like a machine running endless scenarios in real time. McGregor, never one to let uncertainty dictate his actions, decided to put an end to the mystery. He fired off his first real strike, a lightning-fast left straight, the same punch that had sent countless opponents crumbling. It connected clean, snapping Musk's head back, and for a moment, the arena held its breath. But Musk didn't drop. Instead, he took the hit, stumbled slightly, and then smiled. The grin wasn't cocky, wasn't taunting. It was something else entirely. It was the look of a man who had just confirmed something he had been waiting to prove. A look that sent a ripple of unease through even the most seasoned fight fans in the audience. McGregor's fists clenched. Whatever was going on, it didn't matter. He wasn't here to figure out conspiracies or play mind games. He was here to fight. And if Musk wanted to smile, then McGregor would give him something to really think about. He stepped in again, this time throwing a brutal combination, his strikes landing cleaner than they should have against a man so inexperienced. Yet, for every punch that connected, Musk seemed to adjust, his reactions becoming sharper, his movements more precise. Something was very wrong. The billionaire shouldn't have been able to take that kind of punishment and stay standing. He shouldn't have been getting faster. He shouldn't have been learning in real time. McGregor could feel the shift in the air, the slow realization creeping in that this fight wasn't going to be like anything he had ever faced before. Musk wasn't just an eccentric billionaire stepping into the ring for entertainment. He wasn't here just to prove a point or settle a bet. He was here for something else. And whatever it was, McGregor had the sinking feeling that he had just stepped into something far bigger than he could have ever imagined. McGregor felt the shift before he could fully comprehend it. The way Musk moved, still awkward, still unrefined, but eerily efficient, wasn't the kind of improvement that came from sheer adrenaline or hidden talent. It was something else, something that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. His instinct screamed at him that he was no longer fighting a man figuring things out as he went. He was fighting something that was adapting to him in real time. The crowd had noticed it too. The first few minutes had been exactly what everyone expected: McGregor dominating, Musk surviving. But now? Now, there was an unease rippling through the arena, a tension that had nothing to do with the usual ebb and flow of a fight. Every time McGregor landed a shot, Musk absorbed it with unnatural resilience. Every time he pressed forward, Musk moved just a little better, reacted just a little faster. And that smile, that unsettling, knowing smile, never left his face. McGregor feinted a right hook, testing Musk's reaction. The billionaire flinched just slightly, his head angling away, but something about the movement made McGregor hesitate again. It was too perfect. Too calculated. He adjusted mid-motion, twisting his body and launching a crushing leg kick, one of his signature weapons, the kind of strike that could shatter an opponent's rhythm if it didn't outright cripple them. His shin collided with Musk's thigh with a brutal crack, the force enough to make a normal fighter stumble, maybe even fold. Musk didn't even flinch. McGregor's mind barely had time to process it before Musk's hand shot forward, not in a traditional strike, but something stranger, and almost mechanical precision in the way his fingers pressed against McGregor's shoulder. It wasn't an attack. It was a test. A chill ran through McGregor as he yanked himself back, instinct screaming at him to create space. He'd fought men with iron chins before, walked through wars inside the cage, but this wasn't just toughness. This was something calculated, controlled. And for the first time in a very long time, an unfamiliar sensation crept into his gut. Doubt. The commentators had fallen silent, the usual enthusiastic breakdowns replaced by tense murmurs. The audience, thousands strong, sensed it too. This wasn't just a fight anymore. This was something different, something off. And then, before McGregor could launch his next attack, something happened that no one, not the fans, not the analysts, not even McGregor himself, had expected. Musk spoke. Not trash talk. Not a taunt. Just two words, spoken so quietly that only McGregor could hear them. "You're ready." The words sent a jolt through McGregor's system, his mind scrambling to make sense of them. Ready? Ready for what? He had no time to ask, no time to react, because in the very next second, Musk did something that shattered every expectation. He stopped fighting. Just stopped. He straightened up, hands lowering slightly, his expression unreadable. The referee, confused, hesitated, waiting for some signal, some explanation, but none came. Musk simply stood there, watching McGregor with an intensity that felt more like an assessment than a confrontation. The tension in the arena was suffocating, every second stretching into eternity as the world tried to make sense of what was happening. Then, before anyone could question it, the lights flickered. Just for a second. A brief, almost imperceptible disturbance, like a glitch in reality itself. Some in the audience barely noticed, chalking it up to nothing more than arena equipment failure. But McGregor saw it. More importantly, he felt it. Musk's eyes flickered, just for the briefest of moments. Not in confusion. Not in hesitation. But in something deeper. Something calculated. And then, the sound came. A low hum. Subtle at first, barely distinguishable beneath the roar of the crowd. But it grew, vibrating through the floor, resonating through the air in a way that made McGregor's breath hitch. He glanced around, scanning for its source, but there was nothing. No speakers, no interference, just that strange, unnatural frequency seeping into his bones. Musk's expression remained unchanged, his breathing steady, as if everything was unfolding exactly as planned. McGregor had never backed down from a fight in his life. But this? This wasn't just a fight anymore. McGregor's breath came slow and steady, but his heartbeat pounded in his ears like a war drum. He had been in countless fights, faced men who were faster, stronger, and more brutal than most could comprehend. But this? This was something else entirely. The fight had left the realm of the ordinary. That strange hum still vibrated through the floor, through his bones, making his muscles tighten in ways he didn't understand. Musk stood motionless, not victorious, not defeated, just waiting. The crowd, oblivious to the undercurrent of something unnatural unfolding inside the cage, was growing restless. Some chanted for the fight to continue, others booed, demanding action. The referee stepped between them, confused, hands raised as if expecting anyone to explain what was happening. But before he could speak, before McGregor could demand answers, Musk exhaled and finally broke the silence. "They're watching now." The words weren't meant for McGregor alone. The way Musk said them, calm but deliberate, sent a chill rippling through the atmosphere. The lights overhead flickered again, longer this time. The hum intensified, shifting in tone, becoming something sharper, something impossibly complex, like a language McGregor couldn't quite grasp but somehow felt in his very core. And then the arena changed. It wasn't dramatic, not at first. The digital banners glitched, flashing symbols instead of ads. The cameras tracking the fight froze mid-frame, yet the broadcast continued without interruption. Even the air smelled different, charged with a faint metallic scent. McGregor's vision wavered for a fraction of a second, the world around him bending as if something just beyond his understanding was pressing against reality itself. Musk turned his head slightly, as if listening to something only he could hear. "They're here." McGregor didn't know who they were, but every nerve in his body told him that something had arrived. And whatever it was watching. He clenched his fists, grounding himself in what little normalcy remained. "What the hell is this?" His voice was steady, but the question carried a weight he didn't fully understand. Musk's lips curled into that same knowing smile. "The real fight was never between us." Before McGregor could react, the hum stopped. The lights surged back to full brightness, the world snapping into sharp focus. The screens, the cameras, everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. The crowd, still roaring, was completely unaware that, for a moment, reality itself had wavered. Musk stepped back, relaxed, his body language shifting from combatant to observer. "You passed." McGregor's instinct screamed at him to strike, to press forward, to finish what had started. But something deep inside told him it wouldn't matter. Whatever game Musk had been playing, whatever test this had been, the fight was already over, at least in the way the world understood fights. The referee hesitated, looking between them, before finally making a decision. He stepped in, waving his arms. "That's it. The fight is over." Boos erupted from the audience. Confusion spread like wildfire. Commentators scrambled to make sense of what had just happened. Fans watching from home flooded social media with theories, demanding explanations. Musk turned toward the cage door as if he had already moved on, but before stepping out, he glanced back at McGregor. "We'll talk soon." McGregor didn't follow, didn't call him back. He simply stood there, watching as the billionaire disappeared into the chaos of security, cameras, and stunned officials. As the post-fight madness unfolded around him, McGregor's mind raced. He had stepped into this fight expecting a spectacle, expecting an easy win, expecting Musk to be nothing more than a rich man playing at being a warrior. But now, standing alone in the center of the octagon, he knew the truth. The fight had been real. But it had never been about winning. It had been about something much, much bigger. And whatever it was, it wasn't over.